right, now I call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Karlovich,
Here.
Reichner,
Here.
Reese,
Here.
Brochus,
Here.
Eister.
Here. And just a moment of silence for everybody still being affected by COVID-19. Okay, thank you. And just to remind everyone, this meeting is being recorded.
Okay, at this time we'll accept public comment on agenda items only. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name, please.
Hi, this is Megan Beck. If it's okay for me to go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Megan.
Number one, I wanted to say I appreciate the city being proactive and giving relief where they've been able to during the corona crisis, the tax deadlines and parking, and also too with the ordinances. This is a lot of hard work I know that have gone into the items on the agenda today. I do have some concerns about passing those during the state of emergency, and because we're all not so familiar with online access yet, I think people are getting up to speed, but I believe that this is a little bit early to be passing so many items. Although I do appreciate how prompt the city has been in getting everything online, just to consider potentially delaying a couple of the items if that would be possible. I had a couple of housekeeping items that just going through the agenda items on the noise ordinance. That's a very positive change to help support small businesses. However, there is a fee listed in that ordinance, and I know you've been trying to keep the fees out of ordinances and on a schedule, so I'd recommend pulling that. In the food ordinance for mobile food facilities, the permit length is only 6 months. All other city permits that I'm aware of are for a year. I wasn't sure why the difference in that, but I thought that might be a change to keep things streamlined. And also there's some changes to the rental ordinances. Both the commercial and rental ordinance have a change in the display of certificates. In the previous ordinances, they needed to be produced within 24 hours of request. I'm not sure why that might have changed, but I know most property owners here in the city, probably what they do is keep their certificates in a central office. So I'd recommend updating that to the previous requirement. I don't know why, if that might have been changed. Also, on the sewer, rental property, and commercial ordinances now all include jail time in addition to fines for violations. I'm not sure why that might have been considered necessary, but I'd hope that you might consider removing that language. I don't know that that's necessary for these, but I would hope that would be considered. My big concern are in regard to the commercial property ordinance, which is the newest ordinance, which I think we're now on a first reading again. I noticed there were some significant changes to it, removing a lot of the vacancy portion. One of the industry standard for commercial properties is for 4-unit buildings to be considered commercial, but the city chose 3 units. I'd recommend to change that to industry standard of 4. It also puts unfair pressure on residential rental owners, because these would be, what it appears is that these would be in addition to regular residential rental permits, which require inspections, and this would be a certificate of commercial occupancy, which would also require an inspection, I believe. And if we aren't also doing that, double inspections, and hoping the city speaks to this, I would be $800 per span if these fees are permanent, which was as if they were permanent, although the ordinance itself doesn't exactly read the way. In addition to all tax and water bills. I'm told these inspections will be done by the external code, and while I love working with them and appreciate what they do, all that money leaves our community. But we want to see a better community, hopefully, for all these funds that are created ordinance. While it's not referred to in the ordinance, currently a certificate of occupancy, I hope the city is able to speak to how the certificate of occupancy is different. That is handed out only $108. I know the proposed fee for the ordinance is $450 per either unit or property. I don't know. The current state will be shade when it occupies a unit. Would this be would be required every sort of rental permit, regardless of tenancy or not? I have just some huge concerns over the $450 price that was previously floated. I'm hoping the city would review Municipality Planning Code 53 PS Section 1010, which I can get over to Jody, because that limits how a municipality can set fees. There has to be justification for the cost of fees. It should only cover the exact cost, and hopefully we're seeing some. I would hope we can see some return on investment in regard to these fees, rather than just seeing those funds go out of the community. Lastly, we don't want to discourage investors, and I just worry that these fees will be seen as punitive and not proactive, and that will be discouraging investment and people investing in properties. So I really hope that you can address the redundancy of rental properties in that commercial ordinance, the level of the fees, and the confusion with the existing certificate of occupancy. I'd be glad to participate in any meetings on those on these property ordinances, and I think there'd be others that would be as well. I know someone said there were public meetings, but I was not aware of them. And so I ask that you please table the property ordinance changes for at least another 30 days to have some discussions on these. The last item I have is in regard to the fast track issues. I know one of those items in the fast track is being discussed tonight. The first is I ask that the city, in the fast track guidelines, please allow for units which previously had permits to be allowed to be reviewed under the fast track guidelines, and essentially grandfathering them rather than requiring them to go through a zoning hearing. And also allow existing half doubles to be fast tracked and allow them a variance for the street parking requirement. We are seeing a lot of zoning hearings in relationship to that, and no one wants to see. While no one wants to see beautiful old buildings carved up into apartments, we also don't want to have vacant properties sitting around unusable because they no longer are habitable due to an ordinance issue. And we don't want to see half doubles being sold separately and all those problems that come with that. And lastly, finally, is the square footage requirement for downtown units. Previously was 1,200 square feet, now 900 square feet. The International Code reduced their guideline on minimal habitable space because they did not feel that they could place an arbitrary restriction on room size that did not provide a life safety benefit. We shouldn't be legislating how people wish to live unless there is a life safety concern. Most towns are reducing their square footage guidelines to allow for tiny houses as part of the trend of living small. People want to live in small dwellings and spend their time on money on other activities. So this is what we want to encourage in our downtown. We have a ton of functionally obsolete upper floor space in our downtown, which could be repurposed into apartments if there was more flexibility than provided by this 900 square foot rule. There are already a number of challenges in design due to current code guidelines and making sure that all those safety guidelines are fulfilled. So please remove this arbitrary, unhelpful guideline to increase density of living in the downtown and the vibrancy of the downtown by allowing us more patrons for the downtown businesses. I would also suggest eliminating the square foot. I personally would suggest eliminating the requirement altogether to defer to the International Code, but I'm willing to compromise on removing the downtown only requirement 900 square feet and allow that now downtown to revert to the same standard as our residential districts. If we haven't had any problems in our residential districts with the current square footages there, that should be perfectly acceptable for our downtown. Thank you all.
Is that it? Are you sure?
I'm sure.
All right. If you don't mind, I can answer a few of those questions because they may be similar questions that other folks have. I'll start from the top. I think I took notes and can remember each of the things that you talked about. In the noise ordinance B, the fee that is in the ordinance is set by the state, and that's the only place in our ordinances where we don't say as a fee set by resolution of the council from time to time, and that's because it is a fee that's directed, and I think our solicitor had put that in there. Attorney Weiss, do you have a comment on that?
That's correct, Jody. I don't think it's actually a state mandate. I don't want to misspeak, but what it is a fee that has previously been approved by the State Liquor Control Board, and it's a pretty much universal fee. So for that reason, instead of making a arbitrary number that to be decided by council, in order to get this noise ordinance past the Liquor Control Board that we're going to have to do a hearing in front of, my suggestion to council was to use the enumerated fee, which we knew had previously been okayed by the Liquor Control Board. Hopefully that answers that question.
Okay. And then on the retail food facilities, you questioned why we put 6 months on that fee for the food trucks, and that's because then normally it would be $100 for a full year. We split that up so they can do $50 for 6 months time, just in case over the winter month or something they don't intend to set up anywhere. They can avoid paying for time that they don't need. Okay. And then on the rental and commercial property ordinances, really have to read those closely together, and they should they work together. So when you have a commercial property that has residential rental units, then the inspections and the housing permits, all of that applies under the residential rental unit ordinance. So it won't be duplicating inspections, it won't be duplicating fees for inspections and for certificates of compliance. I do understand for commercial properties, our intention is, I think our fundamental intention is to provide the city a means for going in and inspecting those properties periodically for life safety issues. So what will happen for a commercial unit is that there will be that initial certificate of occupancy for the business that's going to be operating there, and that's their certificate of occupancy. Then every 3 years there would be an inspection for life safety, and then also verify that it's the same use that's going on in the property. And that way we can avoid people changing uses without us knowing. So it's kind of a verification also on every 3 years. And then the commercial property 4 unit versus 3 unit. International code. Are you able to answer?
I'm here, Jody.
Yes.
I missed your question. I apologize.
So for there's somebody not on mute. If you could please mute yourself, or I will find you and mute you.
It may have been when Mike unmuted himself.
Yeah. And I don't know. It might be. Are you muting yourself, Megan?
I'm not, but I can, but it's quiet here.
Yeah, but it's replaying what's.
Yeah, I think it's coming from Mike. Good.
Somebody has a TV on behind them. There's a TV.
Oh, you know what? That's probably me. I'm sorry. I was multitasking. Is that better?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't think about it until somebody mentioned it. Yeah, it's multitasking.
All right, Mike. The reason I understand that a commercial property is 3 residential units, rental units or more. Where does that come from?
That comes from the universal, or the UCC, which is the Uniform Construction Code.
Okay, so Megan, that's the reference we're using for that? if you have something else you want to send me, that's fine. You can do that.
Okay.
As far as the third-party inspectors doing those inspections for commercial properties, that's because right now we lack the capacity with our employees to be able to handle the additional workload. So that's why, primarily why we're going with NEIC to do the commercial property inspections.
Can I just clarify? So the this commercial property ordinance is meant to take the current certificates of occupancy, like we're getting them now, and just expand that to all existing commercial and continuously do that all the time, whether vacant or occupied, or is it just occupied?
Whether vacant or occupied.
Okay. I think that might be good to include in there, to clarify that it's both vacant, whether vacant or occupied. And that also, that now that you're explaining it like that would entail it being per unit. And I don't think that the ordinance expresses that it's per unit. It sounds like it's per property. And that actually really amplifies that fee, if it's by unit, obviously.
Right, so
Wait.
since it's a first reading tonight for the commercial property, we can take that under advisement as well and take a look at that. I'm sorry, Kurt, did you have something to say?
No, this is Chris.
Oh, Chris, go ahead.
The commercial property is by property, it's not by unit. The residential property is by unit. So those are separate. So the commercial property inspection that's done by NEIC is a per property certificate of occupancy inspection. That's done every 3 years. So that's where.
And that's where I was saying there's confusion, because currently we do per unit certificate of occupancies.
Okay. I
And
see
so,
what you're saying. So you're saying that was where your confusion was. Makes sense. We can revisit that if it goes from first to second reading.
Jody,
Yes.
when this was initiated, and I'm going to use the Dollar General store as the pattern. They have apartments on the second floor, so they would be residential inspections. The first floor that's being rented out would be a commercial inspection. Those apartments on the second floor would have nothing to do with the commercial inspection. The apartments would still be inspected by the code office of the city of Sunbury, and the commercial end of it would be done by NEIC, because there's certain licenses and stuff that we don't have within our office to do the commercial end of it, and we do get paid for that. Just because they're doing it, we do get paid. We do get a percentage of their inspection.
Right, Rick, how things evolved when we were working on both of these ordinances so that they would try to have them work well together, is that the residential units will still require to have a housing permit. So they will still need to go through that process, but having one inspector will go, the NEIC will go do a full inspection of the whole building. We're not going to have two separate inspectors come, just for efficiency.
Well, okay, well then that has changed, but the original one that started, the commercial one of it was going to be an annual inspection at $100 a year. That was what the original one was. And residentials were going to be every 3 years with the rest of the residentials. Now, however that evolved, I don't know. But originally that was set up that way.
right. And I think that's where my confusion comes in, that it's duplicative. You know, like the way it reads to me is rental properties also fall under both permitting, which requires that the 3-year inspection and permit every year, and they are getting a commercial inspection every 3 years. Is the way it reads, because they also three units or over also fall under the commercial ordinance.
When you read if it's residential only, it will go under the residential rental property ordinance for the inspections and the housing permits. Where we get into commercial inspection by NEC is where we have a mixed-use property. We're still only going to do an inspection once every 3 years. We're just going to have NEIC do that inspection. All right, so it's the same for, it doesn't change what's required for the residential rental units. They still get inspected every 3 years. They still have to have a housing permit that gets renewed every year. And then,
Judy, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I see what Megan's saying, because the wording is right, and that is how it was intended, because a property of more than the 3 units or more does fall into both categories in our meetings that we had met with. Where Mike, when he's going out and doing his residential inspections, those are only internal inspections per unit. So basically, he's going and just looking at the unit itself. But he's not inspecting any common areas. He's not inspecting hallways leading to it, stairways, things like that. Mike, can you correct me if I'm wrong on that? Or the part of that where NEIC's inspection would kick in is now on the full life safety of the building itself. So that's where it would fall in on those of the 3 or more, because they are the commercial properties at that time. But the fee that was in there, and Jody, I don't know if you got a response back, that was not an exact fee, because it was supposed to be as set by, Mike, I think you're unmuted there.
I'm sorry.
The fee was supposed to be as set by resolution within the fee schedule, but I don't think we had heard back from NEIC yet, unless you had heard from them about what the fee roughly would be on their end, so we had an idea of what ours would be total. Am I right on that?
Yeah, so I did speak with NEIC today. I got to speak with Mr. Littlejohn. I didn't get to speak with either of the Mr. Marinos, but I do understand that their standard fee for the certificate of occupancy is about $108, and so I wouldn't see that we want to increase it by 3 or 4 times that much. So but I can't speak to it yet, because I haven't gotten in touch with the people to really negotiate what that fee is going to be. But I do want to make it a reasonable fee, and that $450 was something that was thrown out in a meeting, and I probably shouldn't have included it in the original draft, but I do understand that is just exorbitant, and we're going to address that by the time we get to second reading.
Yeah, so Megan, to answer your question, that because you had asked specifically about the properties with 3 or more, that answer is yes, they would be involved in both, but the fee that you had talked about it being as high as it was would not be that high, because the certificate would be on the property, the rental certificates would be on the unit, but the fee wouldn't be that $450. We'd have a lower fee at that point then, and that would be the every 3-year fee, just in the life safety inspection.
Right. I mean, do you feel that there is, as working with the code office, or Mike, either you or Mike, but that when our code office does life safety inspections of all those units, I believe it actually says in there that they are allowed to review the entire property. Is the reason why that isn't enough due diligence that we have to have an additional, an additional inspection?
It's a good point. It's something we can revisit on there. That way we can talk with NEIC to see exactly what their inspection on the 3-unit properties and above, what are they doing that we're not currently doing? And also, how much time does Mike have to also inspect that stuff? Because, with as many inspections as there are throughout the city, we have to just see, hey, if we're going to add that part into a regular inspection, how much time does that take? But it's definitely a good point to look at between first and second if it goes through for first tonight. But I see your point.
Okay, and then the final thing, you were talking about the fast track issues and the square footage issues. Those are part of the zoning ordinance, and there's a separate process for updating the zoning ordinance, which on its own includes public meetings, etc. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Wiest, how that process goes?
Excuse me, Jody, I was unmuting and missed the last thing you said.
So in order to be able to update anything that's in the zoning ordinance, we have to do a separate process for that. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a there's a very lengthy process for amending the zoning ordinance, which involves the zoning hearing board and the planning commission and various public meetings and votes, and then subsequent, it involves also a overall plan, and it's a huge undertaking to do that, which, you know, I don't think we want to do at this time. While I have the floor, I want to also respond to Megan's concern with the jail time and the rental property ordinances. And that's not really, we didn't put jail time in there so that we could be punitive to anybody. All we did was reflect that in today's society, these violations are actually summary infractions, and they must be called summary infractions to take them in front of the local magistrate. Because they're summary infractions, the law specifically states that the possible penalties are exactly what's in that ordinance. Nobody's looking to put anybody in jail for violating those penalties, but at the same time, for transparency's sake, because they are summary offenses, we put the entire language in there so everybody knows what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I understand that. It's just going from it not being there to now it's there, and it says these multiply daily. It's a little intimidating,
Well, and Megan, in the past, there was a different law such that we didn't have to file them as summary offenses. But in the last couple of years, there has been findings and a rule change such that now the only way to get it in front of a DJ is to call it a summary offense. And that's why we've had to include that language now, and it wasn't in there before.
All right, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, so I think, Megan, we covered everything?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else, any other members of the public wish to provide public comment on agenda items at this time?
Joe Bartello, I just had one comment about the commercial property.
This is Jerry Troop.
Yes, Jerry Troop, please go ahead.
Yes, I'll be honest with you, I'm very interested in what I'm hearing tonight, and I don't have a lot of knowledge on the commercial and residential ordinances that you're looking at. If I could, but my basic concern when I first heard about the fees was the fees. I know I have properties in Northumberland that are done by the same external people that you're talking about dealing with, and their fees over there are not near what was talked about here. The other comment I will make, and I'm not going to say too much more because, as I said, I need to read these ordinances a little bit more. But sitting here and listening in, it seems that, I don't know, it's because this is a audio conference rather than a regular meeting, or if there just seems to be a lot of stuff that is just now being interpreted by several different members here, and I think it would be wise, due to the situation, to just table this for a couple months. I don't see what waiting a month or two. Well, maybe we could get a little more input from the landlords and stuff, and a little more clarification on stuff. I don't see what that would hurt. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, this is Linda DeGroat. Can I say something?
Linda DeGroat, yes, go ahead.
Hi. I guess I just have a question as opposed to a statement. When I was looking at the fees, and I realized we have to make money for our town, but we used to have the Riverview Inn, which we lost due to illness and things like that. And we're senior citizens. My husband's a veteran. Now we're on Social Security. Those fees for us are going to be so exorbitant that we're going to have to move out of the city. And I don't feel that we live in a high-class neighborhood, and I'm not putting our city down, but I'd like to stay here. I like it here. We've been here 13 years. And, I think we have a nice town, but, and the thought of, because I can't because I can't pay those fees, somebody's going to put me in front of a judge and say, okay, well, maybe she needs to go to jail. Or something like that is a little scary thing. I don't know. I never knew I was considered, in 13 years, I never knew I was considered commercial. We have a 4-bedroom or a 4-unit thing here on 50 South Front Street. We occupy one. And I guess what I'll ask is, would it behoove me to only have 3 rentals? Would that be considered residential and wouldn't cost me so much? Because right now on Social Security, we live from Social Security check to Social Security check, and an additional amount like that would really be a burden for us, and we're not like a lot of the other landlords who might have 3, 4, or 5 buildings and might be like making money. For us, it's not a moneymaker for us. So I don't know. For us, it's, like I said, the fees would really be a burden. So how could I help myself, I guess, at this point, rather than move?
Jody, this is Joel. I was with Juan. Okay. Hi, Linda. This is Joel Weed.
Hi.
I just wanted to say that the very first thing you said, that the city has to make money, that is not the intent or the purpose of the fees, okay? I want to be very clear. And because of that, I think is why already tonight everybody is saying that the fees are going to be much, much lower than $450. The reason for that is we can only charge a fee that it costs us. We can't make money on you or it's a tax. So the city can only charge whatever the city is being charged. I have a feeling that the commercial property inspections, which would happen every 3 years, are going to be much more in line with the under $200 range than the $450 range. And that's a guess, but it's an educated guess. And I don't know if that helps you or not, but I wanted to make that clear. The $450 is already being revisited as of this evening. We just need to know exactly what we're being charged in order to make this happen. We're also going to discuss, obviously, after Megan's comments, the possibility of doing it in-house, which would make it even cheaper for the landlord.
Well, therefore, I didn't mean that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I just wanted to be clear that, believe me, nobody wants to make money off of fees for you or anything like that. That's not the intent.
I didn't mean that as a punitive statement. If we don't make money as a town, how are we going to make improvements? I mean, the town has to bring money in somehow, and certainly, we have to pay our workers, and so I didn't mean that as a negative. I certainly didn't. I hope that didn't come out as a negative, but also, again, living from paycheck to paycheck with Social Security, now that I'm a senior citizen, and my husband's disabled, I'm wondering, how I can make everything work for me rather than move. I don't want to move. I like it here. I like the people here. So I'd like to work around things. And I don't know the difference between, again, I didn't know till tonight that I was commercial. So, and should I, and as far as like properties being left vacant, I had my apartments in the hands of a realtor, and the realtors have done nothing. For over a year, I found my 2 tenants, and I did background checks. But what gets me is a lot of landlords don't do background checks. They just shove people in their apartments, and to me, that's a scary thing because you don't know who's moving in next to you. So I don't know.
This is Chris Reese. I just want to we've thrown a lot of numbers out, and I don't know how much you've been able to read or see the ordinances. The only one that would change out of the ones that we talked about, the fee that's different than what you're already doing, is that commercial property one. So the residential one, the fee structure within there was staying the same, and that's already part. If you have rental units, that's staying the same. So the only thing that would change is that once every 3-year fee. So it wouldn't be something that would have to be come up with every year to add on to what you're already paying. And go ahead. Sorry.
Because I live in one, me having 3 units makes me commercial. Is that correct?
A 3-unit property would be a commercial property, but I mean, like you said, depending on what you would change or do, and I don't know if we'd be able to explore that right now, but we'd be able to, if you wanted to look at avenues of ways to help yourself, we could help you and talk you through it, but we'd have to really see that individual case on it.
If I was a 2-unit, would I be residential?
Yes,
I would be, and my fees would be less.
you would still have the residential inspection fees.
Right. But not as much
Yep.
as if I were commercial, I guess.
But also, you'd be losing out on that 3rd-unit rent instead of the $200 every 3-year fee. Does that make sense? So that $200 that you would pay every 3 years, you'd lose, I don't know, let's just say your rent's even low, $300, $400 a month. You'd be losing out on that rental fee versus paying the $200, whatever fee. I'm throwing 200 out, we're throwing numbers out. We don't actually know what it would be.
Yeah.
Whatever the fee would be, you would be giving that up in lieu of paying that fee at that point. Then. So again, it's your decision entirely. You're the property owner. But the goal of this is not to charge, like Joel said, to charge a massive fee to everybody. It's more to make sure that we're able to inspect properties throughout the city, to make sure that we're able to keep up with the life safety of them, for not just singling you out or singling anybody out, but across the entire city. Make sure buildings aren't falling apart, make sure structures are safe, and that people that want to come live here know they can go live into a good building that is going to be well kept at that point.
Right. I understand that. See, for me, my problem is that I don't have anybody to do anything. Gary being disabled isn't allowed, and I'm going to be 69. I had the stroke last June, and although I can do things and I can get up on a ladder and do the painting and things, I can't, if I need an electrician or a plumber, it comes out of a Social Security check, and so we're not making money here. So this becomes a money pit for us. So, the more fees and things that are added, I mean, our rent strictly goes to maintaining this old building. So, but I understand, and you've clarified things, so thank you for all your help.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Is there any other public comment on agenda items at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we're going to move on. Mayor Karlovic. Approval of minutes and reports.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the minutes of April 13, April 20, and April 27, and the reports of the police department, fire department, treasurer, engineer, and code office. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Eister.
Yes.
Let that
Councilman Reichner, tax exoneration and payment of invoices.
Okay, I don't know per se what you are, all I got is the top of the agenda. But I make a motion that we accept the 300, for tax exoneration of $306.10.
Second.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovic.
Yes.
Rick?
Okay, and I also make a motion for approval to pay the invoices out of the general fund of $138,422.81, and liquid fuels of $1,079.56.
Second.
Okay, Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
All right, moving on to new business. Mayor Karlovic, proclamation.
Okay. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which that date falls as Police Week. And whereas the members of all law enforcement agencies play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the United States of America and our city of Sunbury. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of our city police. And whereas it is important that all members of the surrounding communities and of our own law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the law enforcement agency of the city of Sunbury unceasingly provides a vital public service to our community. And whereas the city of Sunbury is grateful for the day-to-day heroism of all our officers, both past and present, who are and who have given so much of their lives in service to our community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kirk Karlovich, being mayor of the city of Sunbury, county of Northumberland, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, on behalf of Sunbury City Council members and citizens, do hereby proclaim May 15, 2020 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 10th through May 16th, 2020 as Police Week. I call upon all members of the city of Sunbury and surrounding communities to observe Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week and to display the flag of the United States of America from their homes and businesses. I make this into a formal motion to accept. Do I have a second from council?
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Karlovich,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Brochus.
Yes.
All right, one
Okay.
more. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Sunbury. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Sunbury to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest in understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in the respective communities. And whereas the year 2020 marks the 60th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kirk Karlovich, being mayor of the city of Sunbury, county of Northumberland, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, on behalf of Sunbury City Council members and citizens, do hereby proclaim May 17th through May 23rd, 2020 as National Public Works Week. I call upon all members of the city of Sunbury and surrounding communities to observe National Public Works Week and to display the flag of the United States of America from their homes and businesses, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. I make this into a form of motion. Do I have a second from council?
Second.
Okay. Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovich.
Yes.
Next for the council's consideration is a resolution for a peer grant application. This is a grant from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources Program. This program is available to assist municipal entities with hiring a professional consultant to study specialized small-scale issues. Up to $10,000 can be made available to hire a peer, typically a park and recreation professional, to work in close collaboration with community leaders to develop an action plan. We are applying for a peer grant in the amount of $10,000 for a bike and pedestrian audit. And this is in preparation for a plan for improved bicycle and pedestrian walkways and trails throughout the city. The city match for this would be 10% or $1,000, and the match would come from the Department of Parks and Public Property budget. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make that, Jody, I'll make that for a motion.
I'll second it.
And second that.
Okay. Brochus,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the part-time employee hire. Mayor Karlovic.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to hire Brandon Kashuba for the Parks and Recs of the Property Department at a part-time at $10 an hour. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Ister,
Abstain.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Brochus.
Yes.
I'll vote yes too.
Oh, yes, Reese, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is the local economic revitalization tax assistance. This is a Pennsylvania tax abatement program that would authorize local taxing authorities to provide temporary partial tax exemption. The purpose is to incentivize redevelopment of deteriorated commercial and industrial properties within a defined geographic area. The taxing authorities would collect taxes on the property's current assessed value and offer temporary exemption on additional assessed value resulting from any redevelopment or new construction on the property. The exemption can be for no more than 10 years, and generally it's a decreasing percentage of additional assessed value each year. For example, the first year 90% would be exempted, the next year 80% exempted, and so on. It has to be initiated by ordinance or resolution of the local taxing authority. So this has to include the county, the school district, and the city. So this would require a collaborative effort among the taxing authorities in our area. Councilman Reese, do you have anything else to add on this before making motion?
No, just simply, yeah. Just basically, obviously, we're looking to explore this to only increase the tax revenue long term. So you take that hit on the front to get somebody to do a development project, bring business here, bring residential, wherever it may be, to try and hopefully increase that tax revenue long term by bringing more people here to the city. And this is one avenue that we can explore to see if we can do that. So I will make that into a motion that we can explore that feasibility to allow Jody and Joel to explore that.
And I make that a second, Jody.
Okay.
Question, what does that have to do with anything for Keystone zoning?
This is different from, you're talking about the Keystone Innovation Zone, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, does that have anything different? I mean, is it the same thing, or does it interfere with that, or does it help it, or which way does that do with the Keystone zoning area? Like, what's up
The Keystone Innovation Zone, the Innovation Zone is more for startup businesses. So it's for businesses that are looking for almost like incubator space type things, which, you know, that's what, and also the Innovation Zone is for a very small portion of the downtown.
Okay, downtown, where is it? Industrial.
What's that?
So it does go into the industrial, like would be up there at, and with more, and there's more.
Yeah, the Innovation Zone.
That's Keystone zoning, correct?
Which one is the Keystone Opportunity Zone and the
Yeah.
Keystone Innovation Zone?
Has nothing to do with this, or won't interfere with any of that? right, thank you. No, no.
Yes.
Okay, so I had a motion from Councilman Reese. Did I have a second?
From Mayor?
Okay. Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Heister.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the renewal of the lease with CareerLink. Received a letter indicating their desire to renew at the same lease rate and terms. The current lease rate is $8,125 per month. The last increase was in 2018. Is there a motion to renew the lease at the current rate and terms?
Make that into a
I'll make
form of
that
motion.
What's that, Chris?
I just asked, what was the length of the lease? Is it
They are
yearly
on
lease or?
yes, they are on a yearly lease.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Louisiana charged it.
We have Reichner?
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovic.
Yes.
Okay, now we're moving on to the unfinished business. So, second reading for bill number 2020-02, the retail food facilities. This is a repeal and replace of the food handling establishment ordinance, which had been adopted in 1954. And as was discussed earlier, it provides provisions for mobile food facilities that we did not have before, establishing their jurisdiction for licensure and inspection, their permit requirement for their operation within the city limits, and the exclusion for temporary food facilities, which are set up for fairs and such. We did receive public comment tonight. Does council wish to have any more discussion?
No.
Or making a,
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the second reading of the retail food facilities. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
okay. Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Heister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
Next is a second reading for the bill number 2020-03, noise. This is a repeal and replace. It establishes provisions to satisfy the Liquor Control Board's requirements for noise. It updates definitions, prohibited acts, etc., and establishes the measurement of or assessment of sound, the provision for special permits for relief of noise restriction. Until tonight, we hadn't had any additional public comment. And again, this is our first step in achieving the relief from the LCB's enforcement of establishments within the city limits, that the city will then enforce the noise ordinance. Is there a motion?
I'll turn this into a formal motion to accept the noise second reading.
Second.
Jody, I have one question on that.
Yes?
Did we ever get anything back from liquor control? Weren't we supposed to send something to them? Were they okay with this?
It's after we establish our own ordinance, then we submit our application to them for us to enforce.
Okay, I just want to clarify that because I know I spoke to some of the business people downtown and they're very, very willing to work with us and we're willing to work with them. So that's why I want to make that point. Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, where were we?
First and second.
Vote.
There was a first and a second?
Yep, Jim.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so roll call vote, Brochus,
Yes.
Eister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
This is a second reading for bill number 2020-04 for the residential rental property. Again, this was the repeal and replace for Chapter 134 rental property, which had been adopted in 2012 and amended in 2017. We've updated the definitions, we've clarified the housing permit process and requirements, and clarified the inspection procedures. We've had public comment this evening. We had some others email or call in expressing that the permit fee was high, and also question the amount and justification of the new housing permit fee. We do have.
So right there, I'm just going to make a motion to actually table this ordinance until our very next council meeting, since there has been so much input in here and there seems to be a little bit of confusion regarding this one.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to add? Mr. Mayor, do you want to also add the commercial property to that table also?
Commercial property.
Commercial property is further down the agenda, and it's a first reading for tonight. We've taken it a step backward because of the amount of public comment we had received, and also we made some major changes to it. And clearly, by the comments this evening, we have some more modifications potentially to make. So later on, that will be a first reading of the revised proposed ordinance for commercial property.
I would rescind that. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Okay, so then the vote, Ister?
Yes.
Karlovic?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Reese?
No.
Brochus?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is the second reading of Bill number 2020-05, SUAS. This is a repeal and replace, and it's updating the provisions to match current standards, and it also incorporates a separate ordinance, which was Chapter 111 Municipal Authority Regulations, which were regulations that had to do with sewers, and we have not had any public comment on that particular one so far. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the second reading of the sewers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Karlovic?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Brochus?
Yes.
Ister?
Yes.
Okay, now this is the first reading for Bill number 2020-06 revised. This is the commercial property ordinance. It is new legislation. We've had some extensive discussion about it already this evening based on public comments that we've had. We did remove the vacant property registration provisions from the bill's first reading, and we're also looking at the certificate of occupancy fee that would be charged by the third-party inspector. Is there a motion?
Jody, before you do that, this is Joel.
Yes.
Can I make a statement real quick?
Yes.
Okay. Just for the edification of council, I wanted to point out that merely with the changes that you just suggested that we're going to entertain, you may want to table this for tonight instead of passing the first reading, only because if we make all those changes, I would have to recommend that we go back and do another first reading. So for that reason, instead of, at the council's discretion, perhaps instead of doing the first reading tonight and then redoing it again, we may want to table it until the next meeting so that we can attack some of those clarifications that you discussed.
Okay, so Jody, I make a motion to table this commercial property ordinance until the first meeting of June.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Reichner?
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Karlovic.
Yes.
Next is bill number 2020-07, Blighted Property Review Committee. This is also a repeal and replace. It creates the Blighted Property Review Committee. It also establishes its powers and duties regarding the acquisition and disposition of blighted property and eminent domain. Is there a motion on this one?
I'm gonna make a motion to accept the second reading of blighted property review. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
All right, now we have the second reading, bill number 2020-08, the non-uniform person pension plan document. This is an amendment to ordinance 1276, the retirement system, and it is to approve the PMRS, Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System document conversion to the new document requirements. There is no change to the pension benefit calculations or parameters. Is there a motion?
I'll make this into a form of a motion to accept the non-uniform pension ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Hey, Brochus,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the construction agreement. Solicitor Weiss, will you please talk to this one?
Yes, Jody. I'm happy to report that after speaking with Adam Purdy and he doing a pretty surmountable bit of research along and checking and going through Craig Purdy as well, we are covered. We have coverage, and they have issued a certificate showing the coverage for the issue which I had, which was if there was an injury due to the fault of an entity, not the city, could we cover that injury? And the answer is yes, we can. I'm satisfied with the response of Purdy, and in fact, I'm thrilled with it. And therefore, I think we're okay to go ahead and move forward with that agreement.
Joel, quick question on that. Were we
Sure.
covered just under our general liability, or did our umbrella also extend coverage to that too?
Honestly, Chris, I don't know.
Okay.
The
But
certificate,
it's at least our $1 million general aggregate policy covers that.
Yes.
Our $2 million aggregate.
that's correct.
Okay. All right. We can find that out later. I mean, it still gives us a lot of coverage.
Well, and I may have the answer in that certificate, Chris. That's not my area of expertise. I should have sent it to you earlier.
That's
The
fine.
answer may be in the certificate I received.
I'll still make the motion to approve the agreement.
Second it.
Okay, Ister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus.
Yes.
Okay, a resolution regarding Act 15 and 2020 tax collection. Last council meeting, the council intended to pass a resolution that would extend the discount period of property taxes through August 31st and also waive the late penalties if the taxes were paid in full by December 31st. However, afterwards was discovered that it's really not feasible to collect differently from the county, and the county did not extend the discount period. The county is planning to hold a public meeting this Wednesday, during which they plan to adopt a resolution that will extend the face value period by 1 month to September 30th. Treasurer Troop, do you have any comments on this particular item?
Yeah, you there?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's valuable to follow the county what the county does. So far, we collected about 75 to 76% of the taxes already the first 2 months at that account. The value, and if we follow the county, we should pretty much be in the norm if everything back to normal here with the pandemic. So, in my opinion, if follow what the county does, the county does it, make it a lot easier to collect in, and the taxpayers understand what's going on better.
All right, thank you.
I will say, I spoke to Kevin earlier on this too, and I know the last meeting, one of my main things was trying to do something nice for the people that had, lost work or things like that weren't able to pay during the discount period, but was pleased to find out that the amount of taxes that we collected already in the discount period was very similar to what we collected last year. So that was encouraging to know that.
We weren't open and doors weren't open. We only got about 110,000 difference from last year to this year. And that could be cash. People bringing in cash and sending checks and money order. So very, very close to last year's collections.
So, Joel, if we, go ahead, Kurt. Sorry.
Nope, that's all right. I was just going to make a motion to.
I have a quick question here before the motion goes through. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say.
Go ahead, Josh.
All right. Earlier last week, Mr. Mayor, you accused me of withholding information on this vote last week from you and other councilmen, and you said you let us know at this meeting what it was. So I'm just curious, what information did I withheld from the other councilmen and you last meeting on this vote and this information?
All right, so going forward for
I think we should do what's best for the city and move along with this.
exactly, man, make sure that we're taking care of our community. So I do make a motion to follow suit with Northumberland County regarding this. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I just wanted to ask Joel, are we okay? Do we have to repeal what we already did? Or are we just making the motion to amend what we did to instead follow the county guidelines?
All the community boroughs and the county, we're the only ones that should everybody else falls to the county.
You're unmuted. You're unmuted. Open you off, go ahead.
Joel, I don't think
Joel?
he's heard. Well, either way, I'll second.
Okay, so,
Jody.
yeah. So the vote then, Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
and by
Jody.
Joel.
Finish the vote, Jody.
Okay. Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus,
Yes.
Heister.
Yes.
Jody, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, I was talking and nobody was hearing me. I got through now. Just for sake of clarification, my understanding is that the county came to us after our vote last week and said, we really can't have you do something different due to the problems with the collections of the tax. That being said, I do think it would be prudent, although we have now passed this resolution, I do believe it's probably prudent to dispose of last week's voting and withdraw that so that we're not bound by that in the future.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to rescind that vote from the previous meeting.
I second that.
Second.
Okay. Heister,
Yes.
Karlovic,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Brochus.
Yes.
These next are agenda items for discussion. The minimum habitable floor area, Mayor Karlovic. I think we kind of addressed this earlier as well.
Yes, I believe it was brought up by a public comment earlier. So I would like council to review this ordinance and then bring it up for a vote regarding an amendment to this at our next council meeting. And I would like to make sure that we come up with a proper square footage minimum for our central business district portion of this, because if you look at the ordinance itself, there's an editor's note that the central business district, it's minimum 900, even though the rest of the city, it's minimum 400. And if it's exclusively only for one person, the apartments are not less than 300. My opinion is to help promote the economic development of our downtown and to boost the population density for local downtown businesses and so forth. And saying that our downtown district does have adequate municipal parking lot usage, I would recommend just making it even across the board to the minimum of 400 square foot per apartment, as long as all the safety precautions are met. Councilman Ister, do you have any input regarding this?
The other day, of course, you and I were discussing it, and there was some different discussion, of course, on the 400, 600, the 900 may be excessive. That's something we should be discussing in the future then.
Okay. Because the
Well,
way I
Megan,
brought you,
Mr. Mayor, Megan was on earlier. Her and I had a discussion, and I was under the impression she was going to bring a number up. But apparently, she didn't do that this evening. So that's something we have to discuss.
Her recommendation was just to remove the number altogether.
Yes, but that wasn't the conversation we had Friday.
Okay.
With a different discussion, she changed her mind since then.
Well,
and this is okay because this is all discussion.
What was the process that has to be followed for something like this? You guys were saying that there's because I think I don't remember if I was on council or not when this went from 12 to 9, but I don't remember a special process happening for that. What is the process to change from anywhere to change that at all?
All right.
At that time, Chris, we voted.
No.
I know of no process that is necessary other than the vote of city council. Now, this is not something that I've researched in the past because it hasn't been asked of me before. However, to the best of my knowledge, there's no special process, but I can make sure of that as soon as tomorrow.
Okay.
This is, the provision they're talking about is part of the zoning ordinance.
Oh, then yes, there's a process. I'll check it all out and get back to everyone before the next meeting with a written opinion. How's that?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Next on the agenda is the future use of 441 Chestnut Street. Mayor Karlovic.
Okay, so Councilman Iser, can you give us an update regarding what the plan is for the warehouse down near Public Works?
Yes, referring to the Spelman property, we'll be working on that for the next couple of months, getting that prepared for a warehouse. That allows us to take a lot of the items out of the 441 Chestnut Street property, put them in storage down here. We're sitting here with Steve Welker now. We discussed other options for storage. These are things we'll be working on for the future, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So I did also, there was a lot of, there was some discussion regarding how much people thought it would cost to tear or demolish 441 Chestnut Street. So I did reach out to an excavation company that's not too far. They have all the specifications regarding the property, photos of the property. Their rough estimate to demolish 441 Chestnut Street to ground level is between $25,000 and $30,000. So I would like us to start creating a plan for the future use of 441 Chestnut Street to help spur the economic development of this portion of town by offering another municipal parking lot in that area of the city. Jim, do you have any,
Mr. Mayor, I'll take and also, we'll start getting some more numbers together. But the first thing we have to work on is, of course, getting that building emptied out, but that can be our plan for the future, once it's emptied out. In the meantime, looking to see what monies are available out there for, demolition.
okay.
Probably go
Do
blind
we
property
wanna
because
make
the
a-
city never kept
So
it
do we
up.
want to make a motion to start looking for future funding for this?
Just a point of order, since this is in the discussion period, it wasn't listed as a voting item, but an informational, so I think that maybe the correct thing to do is say, yes, we're gonna take this under consideration and come up with a plan for this property.
Okay,
That's fine.
so I look forward to more information for the next meeting then.
Okay. I just want to give a little bit of information on the USDA loan application. This is for the acquisition and renovation of the property at 337 Arch Street. We're in the pre-application phase to determine and that phase is to determine eligibility with USDA. Once we send the pre-application in, which we should be able to do in the next week or so, it's 30 to 45 days to get a determination from USDA of our eligibility. Our representative with USDA says there's no question that the city is eligible, but we need to go through the process. Then we would enter the application phase. In that phase, there is required an environmental review, the preliminary plans and specifications, and then USDA would approve the project, and they would issue a letter of conditions and set aside the funds for the project. After that, then we have the architect prepare the plans, specifications, and bid documents. USDA would review those. We would then be able to put those out to bid. Once we know what the actual costs would be based on the bids we received, then the city would have to secure some interim construction loans based on those accepted bids. And then we would be able to, once we had those funds, we'd be able to issue the notice to proceed. So construction would be able to start, and the city would draw on the interim loans to pay the contractors. Once the project is near completion, that's when we would close with USDA. And that final amount of the loan would be based on the actual cost and minus any grants or other contributions or funding that we receive. So that final amount of the loan won't be known until towards the end of the project. A key date to remember is September 30th, is to have that ability to obligate those funds from USDA by September 30th and close on the loan. Other than, if we do not do that, it's the end of their fiscal year, we would have to wait till spring of 2021 in order to get funds from USDA. So we really want to push this to get it in by September 30th. A bond counsel is required to close the loan. The loan would be a 35-year term, and the interest rate currently is 2.375%, which is a decrease from what had been quoted earlier. These interest rates are good for a quarter, so this is good until June 30th. And so depending on when we get our paperwork in, we lock into a rate. And then if the rate should go down by the time we close, we will get the lower rate. I also want to, at this point, make a statement that in the interest of full transparency, that during the process of applying for the USDA loan, relative to the purchase of the police department building, I realized that the total opinion of probable cost for each of the three properties that was considered was approximately 10% lower than the actual number realized if you added the numbers on the opinions together. So I immediately contacted Strasser Bear, and they determined that the spreadsheet had a calculation error, but it's the same spreadsheet that was used for each of the properties, and it caused that each of the estimates to be approximately 10% low. So I also reached out to Joel as soon as I got that information, reached out to our solicitor, and as this was an equal error of addition across the board, and as the actual numbers were included in each estimate, despite the addition issue, we are simply moving forward with the process at this time. Again, this is just to make everyone aware for the sake of transparency. I wanted to make these facts known. Are there any questions at this time?
Judy,
Yes.
what kind of cost did we incur prior to them accepting our application?
So so far we've had the architect fees, and then if we purchase the building, if we are sending out requests for proposals for a loan to purchase the property, that will then be rolled into and paid back by the loan from USDA. So it's reimbursable. Does that answer the question?
Well, yes and no. Is there any other fees with that application for a loan through the USDA?
No, I'm not aware of any fees associated with the application. The pre-application. But when we get to the application fee, we do have to have an environmental review. That there will be a cost to that, and then there will also architect fees. So I spoke with Strasser Bear today to provide a proposal for how much that's going to cost, and so then I'll be able to provide that to council.
No, I just was, what I was doing was comparing the interest rate you just gave us and what we're going to get from the banks, and I was trying to figure in my other fees. Environmental study, I think they run around 2,000, just guessing. But we'll find that out in the future. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'm following that up with the request for proposal. I'm just letting you know that I did put together a request for proposals for the loan to purchase the property for $125,000, a 3-year term, fixed rate of interest. The RFPs did go out to 4 different banks in the local area: Northumberland National Bank, Fulton Bank, First National Bank, and M&T Bank. And the proposals will be due to the city administrator by June 8th. So the council will have the opportunity to see those at the next council meeting.
I have a question on that real quick. Did we send an RFP just on that 125? We didn't send an RFP to local banks for the full amount with construction and all that?
No, this was just for the purchase, and then we don't. And then it's the interim construction loans that we'll have to send out for RFPs for the interim construction loans when we're at that point.
Okay, sounds good.
Next is the City of Sunbury Operations Plan. We did speak about this last time at the last council meeting. I have since put together a written plan that I have provided the council, and this was in collaboration with each of the department heads. Have been able to review it and provide feedback. The purpose, incorporate multiple sources of guidance to determine what the appropriate City of Sunbury actions, operations, and services should be for each of the phases of the Reopen Pennsylvania phase plan. It's intended to be flexible with changes applied as the pandemic evolves, as new guidance comes out, either from the federal government or state agencies. The plan is matched to, again, the phases of the Reopen Pennsylvania plan. I continue to coordinate with department heads as local conditions or face changes, and we might consider changes to the plan. So that, again, noting that it can be flexible if we happen to move back into the red phase and then back into yellow, we should be able to have a set kind of plan for what we're going to be doing in each of those phases. And then so the council, you've had the opportunity to review the plan, and then as the local phase changes, again, you'll review it and look to see if there's any changes that you would like to consider at that time. So this is just for information. The plan is on the website. Next is my city administrator's report. I'll try to go through this quickly. We've gone a long time this evening. Just letting you know, I'm working from home, but I'll transition to the office by the end of the week, and then by Monday, I'll be working out of my office at City Hall. Continue to be receiving and disseminating the information that's coming out and updating the website and Facebook posts. Working on that codification. That's still a high priority. Working on the USDA loan application, and then project management, the pool renovation project is in progress, and then also overseeing the city operations and services plan. This is some updates on the codification. I'd really like to have a deadline of the end of July to try to complete everything. That means all of the ordinances that need to be updated, to have them be adopted so that we can send everything in, and for the final draft from the contractor that is doing this for us. You'll see there on the slide major revisions that we are doing, and there's still a few drafts that need to be completed. We've done some of the second readings tonight. I will update it with the new decisions that we made this evening, and keep working on those that need to be put forward for a first reading in the near future. The Strategic Management Planning Program, don't forget that we have got a grant approved for this. It's waiting final signature, executive level signatures at DCED. I did reach out to Mr. Carpenter, who's our contact on this, and he said that the Pennsylvania budget is in a holding pattern right now, which is why it hasn't been signed yet. That's causing the delay. However, I was assured that the grant will be funded this year as soon as they are permitted to go ahead and sign off on it. I have also reached out to our selected consultant management partnerships. According to them, they don't they would like to maybe lean forward and get some information from us and start a little bit of preliminary work even without the signature. But I want to work with our solicitor on that and not get too far ahead of ourselves. So I will follow up on that. And really, this project is more important now than ever with the changes in the economic impact of the pandemic. Having these consultants to be able to come here, use their tools to be able to project what those impacts will be on our revenues and city services is going to be very important to help us weather this economic impact the best that we can. So just letting you know, we're still working on that. As far as community and economic development, the next meeting of the Sunbury Community Partnership Forum will be May 28th, and I have yet to choose a location for that. I need a place big enough so that we can sit far enough apart for less than 25 people. What we want to do is position ourselves for the economic recovery. Like to see a development of a marketing plan that would attract business and industry. Like to see a marketing plan that would attract residents. Top two challenges that I keep hearing as I'm meeting with the partnership is childcare and transportation for people to be able to go back to work is very important. And so the group will continue to address that. In the front mayor's office, city administration office, and city clerk, we've gone back to regular hours. The swim lessons were canceled for this year. VIA applications are still being accepted. However, I'm not certain of the staffing needs due to whether or not we're going to be able to open up playgrounds or provide programs. We'll be continuing to assess that throughout the month. There is a municipal intern that will be starting this month, and that's a program through the Pennsylvania Municipal League. Those wages for that intern will be reimbursed at the end of his internship at the end of the summer. And there is a possibility there's a second intern that wants to come and work for us. Department of Accounts and Finance, again, returned back to normal. They'll be getting started on that 2019 audit and looking ahead to any budget and revenue projections. Department of Public Safety, Code Office went back to normal operations for supporting construction and contractors as of May 1st, and that's been going very well. Code enforcement officers are going to return to their normal schedules and hours this week. They're going to resume doing residential rental inspections as they've been scheduled ahead of time for June, and then starting to work on some of that backlog even this month. And they'll be equipped with PPE in order to enter premises, mask and gloves. With emergency services, we're coordinating grant applications for COVID-19 response requirements. And then looking ahead, there's a revision of Chapter 130, property maintenance, that's going to include a provision for quality of life ticketing that will be put forward for consideration. Parks and public property, return to normal for the employees and their schedules. The renovation projects in progress at the Youth and Community Center, the youth hockey program, changing rooms. There are a few things that are yet to be completed on those, including benches and painting, but that should be done by the end of the summer and ready for the next ice hockey season. The pool renovation project, the contract bid was awarded to management, and their construction started April 27th and is progressing well. And they're also on water lines. And looking ahead, it's going to be kind of the routine stuff for the park and grounds maintenance. We're still uncertain about pool opening. We're still hoping that we can, and but no final decision is being made on that, and at this time. And then for the playgrounds and skate park, we want to be able to clean those before we reopen them. I know that that's a public issue that people would like to see those open as soon as possible. So I'll keep working with Parks and Rec and with Councilman Eister on that. And then
And Jody,
yeah.
what's the timeline for completion of the pool project?
So we should still be able to complete the pool project. The deadline we originally set was to be able to open June 12th, that all the construction needed to be done 2 weeks ahead of that. So the end of this month. There may be some impact with the construction. I'm not sure if Councilman Eister has any other information on that.
Jody, you're about right on the 12th. I think we'll be real close for that, depending how the situation though is. Mr. Mayor, the problem is we're only allowed 25 people, and that's including staff. We'll get to the point where we don't have enough people using the pool. It's going to be a losing proposition just to open the door. But like Jody said, we are working on the situation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Streets and public improvements. We've got our employees back, normal schedules and hours. Most of the DPW operations have returned to normal with some modifications to limit contact with the public. Brush pickup has been reinstated on Tuesdays. People can call to schedule. The brush pile is open for drop-offs on Saturdays. A mulch giveaway is scheduled for this Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 3 for Sunbury residents only. And then the regular street sweeping schedule is still suspended. So residents at this point still don't have to move their cars, but they have the street sweeper going out to sweep where able. And then a decision on when to resume the regular schedule will have to be made in the future. And then the next slide will show you the streets projects coming up. The mill and pave of Reagan Street from 4th to 11th is pushed to next year. The Reagan Street flood mitigation project, we expect to send that out to bid in June, and then when they would start work is yet to be determined. We have some other work that just started, resumed this week, including UGI relocating some gas lines, and GNR Charles and others working on the green light go at the intersections of 4th and Arch, Reagan and Packer. So that's all resumed, and all of that needs to be completed and out of the way for Paul Baker to come in and pave 4th Street from Market to Shikellamy Avenue, out then Shikellamy Avenue to Front in mid-June. So it's good that those projects now have begun. And then also the Municipal Authority and Geyer Brothers are doing a sewer line repair at Front and Court Streets. This will require that Court Street be closed there at Front Street. There'll be access from 2nd Street down on Court Street, but that will be from May 11th to May 28th. That's all I have for the City Administrator report. Any questions? Nope. Okay, announcements, Mayor Karlovic. Mayor Karlovic, we don't hear you. We don't
Okay,
hear you.
now we go.
There you
All
go.
right, now you hear me?
Now we hear you.
So just as a reminder, the enforcement of parking regulations for the metered lot and municipal lot and parking are being enforced effective today as well, just so everybody can get that word out. Private use of public facilities for the May are still canceled. The next council meeting, there is no other council meeting this month due to the holiday. The next council meeting is June 8th at 6:15, and it'll be another telecommunications platform.
Okay, I just want to point out, I don't know if we didn't hear you, is the CDBG CV. That is the CDBG COVID response grant. That is an addition to our usual entitlement grant of CDBG money. And there will be a public meeting on that. Now, this money is specifically for COVID response, not for other general projects. So this is coordinated by CEDACOG. This is not the city coordinating the public meetings and such, but they will, they have published the instructions for joining the meeting. We put it also on our Facebook page and on our website to attend, for the public to be able to attend that. It's also a teleconference that's coordinated by CEDACOG on May 21st at 6 p.m. Okay, is there any additional public comment at this time? Hearing none. Mayor Karlovic?
All right, thank you everybody for joining us today. This meeting is now adjourned. Goodbye.